What if one of the most infamous figures in modern criminal history was never truly meant to face justice? What if the man presented to the public as a solitary sexual predator was not the central architect of his crimes, but instead a facilitator, a gatekeeper, or even a living repository of secrets belonging to individuals whose names could never safely be exposed? This investigation does not begin with headlines, court rulings, or official statements, but with the uncomfortable spaces between them, the silences, the contradictions, and the unanswered questions that continue to haunt the case. This is not the story of Jeffrey Epstein, as the world was told to see him. This is the story of Jeffrey Epstein as a mystery that refuses to close. Jeffrey Edward Epstein was born in Brooklyn, New York, in January of 1953, into what appeared to be an ordinary middle-class life. There was no inherited fortune, no aristocratic lineage, no powerful family name behind him. He did not come from generational wealth, nor was he connected to any known financial empire in his early years. On paper, his beginnings were unremarkable. He studied mathematics and physics, and eventually became a teacher at the Dalton School, one of the most elite private schools in New York City. Dalton was not just an educational institution, it was a gateway into the world of power, educating the children of hedge fund managers, politicians, and global elites. It was there that Epstein began forming relationships with families whose wealth and influence extended far beyond public view. Not long after, he left teaching and entered the financial world. But unlike most individuals who rise through Wall Street, Epstein left almost no traceable path. There were no clear records of who funded him, no transparent explanation of how he entered high finance, and no detailed documentation of what services he actually provided. The official narrative claimed that he managed money for extremely wealthy clients, people so rich they preferred anonymity. Yet investigative journalists and financial analysts have long argued that this explanation does not adequately account for the immense wealth Epstein accumulated, nor the lifestyle he maintained, which included private jets, multiple mansions across continents, and a private island. What truly distinguished Epstein from other wealthy figures was not just his money, but his unparalleled access. He moved effortlessly among presidents, prime ministers, royalty, intelligence-linked individuals, scientists, and media executives. He attended exclusive gatherings and was welcomed into circles that are normally sealed off from outsiders. And yet, no one could clearly define who he was or what role he played. He was not a known philanthropist, nor a visible corporate leader, nor a public political donor. This ambiguity fueled a theory that has persisted for years, that Epstein was not simply exploiting victims for personal gratification, but operating as a broker of compromise. According to this theory, he introduced vulnerable individuals, often minors to powerful figures, documented everything that occurred, and used the resulting material as leverage. If true, this would explain why Epstein appeared to be shielded from consequences for so long, and why legal systems seemed to bend in his favor. The first major crack in Epstein's protection appeared in 2005, when a 14-year-old girl reported that she had been sexually abused at his Florida estate. What followed shocked legal observers. Despite multiple victims and substantial evidence, Epstein was not prosecuted in the usual manner. Instead, he received an extraordinarily lenient plea deal in 2008, serving a short sentence under conditions that resembled privilege rather than punishment. He was allowed to leave jail daily, work from an office, and return home most nights. For many, this moment transformed the case from a criminal scandal into a symbol of systemic injustice. How could someone accused of exploiting minors receive treatment more lenient than that given to individuals convicted of non-violent crimes? Who arranged this deal, and why was Epstein treated differently? While many lesser offenders lost everything, Epstein emerged from his sentence wealthier, more connected, and more protected. Journalists later discovered that key documents were sealed, testimonies excluded, and names quietly removed from official records. Each attempt to fully investigate the case seemed to encounter an invisible barrier. This led many to conclude that the Epstein case represented two systems of justice, one for ordinary people and another for the powerful. No location embodies this perception more than Little St. James Island, the private island Epstein purchased in the late 1990s in the US. Virgin Islands, a jurisdiction with unique legal conditions. Satellite images revealed sprawling mansions, guest houses, helipads, and underground structures. One particular domain-shaped building attracted intense public attention and speculation. Officially described as a meditation space, it became a focal point for theories due to its unusual design and secrecy. While there is no verified evidence supporting claims of ritual activity or occult practices, the lack of transparency surrounding the island only intensified suspicion. Further controversy emerged with the release of Epstein's private flight logs, documenting passengers aboard his jet, later nicknamed by the media as the Lolita Express. These logs included the names of politicians, business leaders, celebrities, and royalty. It is important to state clearly that appearing in a flight log does not prove criminal behavior. Yet the secrecy surrounding these trips raised troubling questions. Why were itineraries vague? Why were destinations unclear? Why were records incomplete? Several women later testified that they were transported to Epstein's properties while underage, though their stories came years apart. They shared striking similarities: restricted movement, heavy security, isolation, and activities they did not fully understand at the time. For some investigators, these patterns suggested coordination rather than coincidence. One of the most persistent theories surrounding Epstein is that his operations functioned as a blackmail network. According to this hypothesis, powerful individuals were invited into environments where illegal or immoral acts occurred. Those acts were documented, and the evidence was used as leverage. If this theory holds any truth, Epstein himself would not have been the ultimate authority, but rather one component of a larger system. This leads to the most unsettling question of all. Where is the evidence now? Leaked emails associated with the Epstein files added another layer of controversy. These communications contained repeated references to mundane food items such as pizza, pasta, hot dogs, cheese, and ice cream. Some researchers believe these terms were coded language. To date, no court has validated this claim, and there is no legal ruling confirming the existence of such codes. However, the frequency and unusual context of these words, combined with historical precedents involving coded language in trafficking investigations, ensured that the theory would not disappear. Once again, it was not definitive proof that kept the discussion alive, but the absence of transparency. As the theories grew more extreme, some began suggesting connections to ancient rituals, occult symbolism, and secret belief systems. There is no credible evidence supporting these claims, and many serious investigators dismiss them outright. Yet their persistence reflects a deeper erosion of trust. When institutions fail to provide clear answers, speculation fills the void. Perhaps the most disturbing aspect of the Epstein case is not the allegations themselves, but the silence that followed. Why were so many documents sealed for decades? Why were so few accomplices investigated or charged? Why did momentum vanish after Epstein's death? For many, the explanation is chillingly simple. Too many powerful individuals stood to lose everything. On August 10, 2019, Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his jail cell. The official ruling declared his death a suicide. Almost immediately, disbelief spread across the world. Security cameras malfunctioned, guards reportedly fell asleep, and Epstein had been removed from his cellmate shortly before his death. While there is no evidence that Epstein survived, the circumstances surrounding his death ensured that alternative theories would persist indefinitely. Some believe he was silenced. Others believe he was removed to protect others. All agree on one thing: the truth was never fully revealed. In the aftermath, many cases were dismissed, investigations slowed, and victims were left without full accountability. Some documents were released, but heavily redacted, with names erased and details obscured. Public distrust deepened. The story resurfaced through documentaries, social media, shorter-form videos, leaked interviews, and online investigations, becoming intertwined with other elite scandals, celebrity allegations, and political controversies. For many, the Epstein case became a symbol not just of individual corruption, but of a world where power protects itself. At its core, this story is no longer about one man. It is about a system. It raises questions that are far more uncomfortable than any single allegation. How many others like Epstein exist? How many operations remain hidden? How many victims will never be heard? History shows that truth does not always vanish. It is often delayed, buried, or silenced until the moment it can no longer be contained. And if the truth can be suppressed, manipulated, or erased, then the final question remains the most dangerous of all. What else has been hidden from us, and for how long?